Hey monkeys, how are you? We're back here watching Guitar Quackery Live. My new channel, kind of new. It's 6 or 7 month old now. So Guitar Quackery Live is the auxiliary channel of Guitar Quackery. Guitar Quackery is, well, a somewhat established channel on YouTube. And this is the live auxiliary channel. So on this channel, you only can watch live streams. And you're watching a live stream right now. So I'm streaming. And I do this so, so that, well, for various reasons, so that people can watch me work on their guitars. So I normally might send a link to my customer, the guitar owner. I might, not always. So sometimes if I charge by the hour, I always will. Sometimes if I don't charge by the hour, I sometimes will. And sometimes if we're busy here, now by the way, this is Music Makers New York. Bob Elliott's Music Makers NY. It's a fantastic rehearsal studio in New York City, Midtown, Manhattan, right? And I have a deal here. I rent this little space, and this is where I do guitar repairs. So if you want to learn about guitar repairs, you got a few options on YouTube. One option is definitely this channel. Another option is my main channel, Guitar Quackery. So here you can subscribe if you want to catch me live in real time. Yeah, that's sometimes quite an experience. So on the bench is an Alvarez guitar that needs a new saddle. I also need to do some other work on the guitar. But I titled this playlist, How to Replace a Saddle on an Acoustic Guitar, right? The guitar is right here. You can see it. It's got a broken saddle, so we definitely need to replace it. The strings are loose because I was humidifying the guitar. But we also need to do some other work on the guitar. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be streaming the whole thing or just the saddle replacement part. I'm not sure yet. Sometimes streaming takes extra effort, and I can't always do it for every project. Now, I'll show you a close-up of this situation. Here it is. Okay, so it's got a under saddle pickup. Also, sometimes I call it a transducer. I'm not really sure if other people call it a transducer, but I do. We need to fix the nut as well. So what's wrong with the nut? Well, I can't really show you now because the strings are loose, but all right, I'll explain. So it's too high. So this is a, you know, not an expensive guitar, and a way to cut on labor costs is to kind of not do too much work on the nut, because it takes a skilled luthier or technician to cut it properly. So those people should be paid, you know, decent, and you know, it takes time. So when you buy a budget guitar, often it'll have a high nut. So we're going to fix that. It's missing one of the strings. So when we cut the nut, one method is to keep putting the strings on and off and keep measuring. So, yeah. So this is part one, right? This is really like the assessment. I titled it. I might retitle it. I'm not sure. Let's see how this goes. I didn't get much work done today, to be perfectly honest with you. I was here all day. I'm still finishing up my taxes for last year. I don't want to get into it. You know what? Let's just start cutting the nut. How about that? I want to do a quick adjustment on the nut. I'm not sure if I can like really cut it nice. I mean, look at the strings; they're ancient, and because we need to keep taking it off and putting it back on, they might break. So, you know, the procedure definitely does fatigue the strings, which is why a lot of technicians and luthiers like to use a sacrificial set of strings to cut the nut and then put the final strings on at the end. Now, what's a sacrificial set? Well, it depends. I like it to be the set that's already on the guitar. Sometimes that doesn't work out. Like in this case, it might not, because these strings are super old and they might break. So I might need to put just a cheap set of strings. Okay. Let's get busy. I have my winder here, microscope. So the string slots are kind of high, like I explained at the beginning. And I'll show you, you know, rusty as well. So that's not a pretty sight. But, you know, this is what we see. Some rust. I don't know. The strings might survive. The procedure might not. I can't cut the low E because there's no string there. But I can do the rest of them. Maybe. Okay. So in this case, let's start with the A string. How about that? 42 gauge file. Okay. First, I need to, I don't need to tune it to pitch, but we need some tension on the string. So, here we go. Might as well put some tension on the other string as well. Okay. And, oh, it's not high. Okay. You know, to be honest with you, I did the assessment, I don't know, a week, 10 days ago when I took the guitar in. For some reason, I said we need to fix the nut. Now I just assumed that the strings were high. Maybe some of them are. Let me check. So not the A string, the B definitely, and the high E definitely as well. Maybe the G, I'll measure later. Okay, so not the A string. So yeah, so I did make a note to myself that I need to fix the nut, and obviously, usually that means that the nut is high. I lost something. Okay. Okay, so let's start with a high E then. How about that? I found it. I found what I lost right here, hiding. Yeah, so we're looking at this space. So let me just, there you go. So the string already broke. That's what I said, you know, it's probably going to break. Never mind. I'm going to still clean up this string slot a little bit. It's got this rust there. So since it's not terribly high, I am going to use, the final strings at the end to do the final work. But I'll try to do as much as I can now. And this really shouldn't take too long. Only a few strings need a little touch-up work there. So the B definitely looks high. Okay, here's the B string. Okay, right there. And let's see if it's going to break. No. All right, we're lucky. Sometimes people leave the strings on forever. They never change the strings. But, I did tell this customer, when she contacted me, I sent everyone a PDF to read. I'll take any guitar, but we're doing all the work. Today I took in an $80 guitar. I'm gonna do a lot more work to it. Maybe I will be streaming that one as well. And my work's gonna cost more than the guitar's worth, but the guy wants to do it, so all right. I usually charge in advance when the guitar is below the value of my work. And today I was so distracted, I forgot to do it. Then I felt like, it's kind of embarrassing to call the guy back. So I'll take my chances with that new customer. All right, so this is too high still. So obviously the logic is, if I have an $80 guitar, it's a Jasmine. It's listed for $90-something brand new. He paid $80 I don't know how many years ago. And now it's a little bit less than $100 brand new. So if I do a bunch of work and then they never pick up the guitar, I can't even sell it for any decent amount of money. Because that's what repair techs sometimes need to do. If guitars aren't being picked up on time, we need to sell them to pay for the services. So look, this is interesting. As I tune the guitar, you can see how the string slides. And this is probably now in tune. No, not yet. But yeah, all right. So now I just eyeball it at first, and it's still too high. Oh yeah, today I watched a live stream. I first started watching in the subway. Then I actually had to go to Guitar Center to buy something. Then I continued watching on my phone. Then I went back to the subway, continued watching. Then I came here. So I had to go and buy some things, some parts, right? But so it's a great channel. So Guitar Quackery Live, the channel you're watching now, is the one and only live streaming guitar repair channel But Unquendor Guitars, this channel, is also doing live streams from the workshop. Check him out. But he's a builder. So I think we're the only two active channels. Maybe also Crimson Custom Guitars. I think he did a few live streams. I still got to check that. But I don't think he's actively streaming from the workshop. I don't know. I got to check. You can check as well. So I think maybe just these three channels are the only three channels that are doing live streams from a workshop. And I believe that Guitar Quackery is the only live streaming repair channel. So these are real guitars. They belong to real people. And like I said, sometimes people can watch me work on their guitars. That's one of the ideas why I even am doing this. Okay. And I know this is not for everyone, but I think some people love it. And here I'm teaching you, right? So the string is still too high. And I am being really careful with this string because it's so old. I don't want to waste a new string. And once again, you know, this is kind of like a reference point, maybe right here. Right here, I think. This is how the string is worn. So, no, it's still not in tune. I don't know. But now that gap is getting smaller. All right? And you know, because the strings are so old, I don't think I'll finish the work now. I will do a final touch-up with the actual strings on. All right? And if a string breaks prematurely, I won't be to blame. Well, strings break. What can I do? Sometimes people bring guitars to me with strings that are fossilized, basically. And when I ask, when was the last time you changed the strings? Sometimes people say, oh, never. And how old is the guitar? Oh, I've had it for like 12 years. I never changed the strings. So a guitar isn't a piano, right? You need to change the strings. Okay, and I always clean the files. I forgot to put a link to these files. I will put an Amazon affiliate link. Which means that I make a little money when you buy through that link, but it doesn't cost you anything extra, right? There's no cost added to it. These are Music Nomad files, and I've been using them ever since they came out. Never had any issues with them. They have some bad reviews, or had, I don't know if they've been removed. So when they first came out, I read some bad reviews, and I was going to make a rebuttal video. I mean, a rebuttal. I'm not, you know, affiliate with Music Nomad, but I think that the reviews were not accurate. So I don't think it's fair to the company. You need to clean the files. And then they function properly. Otherwise, it gets clogged up. It might feel like it's worn down because it's skidding, but that's actually not what is happening. And even some friends who are techs told me that their files wore down very quickly, and that Music Nomad sent them replacement files. So now, did they really wear down, or? Because I've been using these files, you know, I mean, I use them every day. And I use them on brass, obviously bone and tusk and all that. Tusk clogs up files. So it's soft to file. It resists wear and tear against the string wear, right? Interestingly. But it clogs up the files easily. All right, so take a measurement. Oh, that gap is super small now. My camera is not really positioned properly. So here, I got to turn it your way. So I'm hitting the 2nd fret, and now, I had a, okay, this is it. 4/100ths of a millimeter. So that means that I can still file it a little bit, and it'll be fine. Unless I go too low. Let's have a look. It almost made no difference, right? So let's just do a little more. We are in the danger zone right now. It's easy to file too low. But for now, whatever the measurement is, I will, okay, now that's what I really wanted, right? Very tiny gap. And the other one, the G string, has how much of a gap? Too much. Let me show you that. Okay. That's the gap, right? So now we're going to file the G string. And for the G string, I'm going to use a 24 gauge file. I'll never use these. I always take the file out and then work like this. Look at that. String cheese. I made a video about string cheese once. Okay. Yeah, I'll stop here and take another measurement, because I don't think the string was touching the bottom. I think the string slot was a little bit narrow. Also pinching the string. Okay. I first eyeball it. It's still too high. No need to measure it. Okay. And as long as you see that you're removing powder, you are actually filing it, obviously. So it's still too high. You can kind of compare it to the other one. Let me see. I'll measure it your way so you can see it. That's a bit out of frame, but you see it's still a little bit too high. Ah, all right. So that's what I was trying to explain, right? Old strings usually don't survive a nut job. And you know, when I do need to use a set of sacrificial strings, meaning a cheap set of strings, which is still like $8 or $9 a pack, obviously I charge it to the job. But on this particular job, where we're kind of negotiating and pulling teeth and all, that's why I'm going to risk the new set of strings at the end for the final adjustment. Now what can I do? Let me see. This is too high. So I'll do this one, that's the D, and then I will, we'll skip the A, because the A doesn't need anything. The D is going to be a 32 gauge file. There. Let me put the other one away. All right. And once I'm done with this, we are going to look at this saddle. And I made no decisions yet. So this is really happening live. So I don't know if I'm cutting a new saddle from a blank piece of bone or if I'm using a prefabricated, which is kind of half prefabricated saddle. I don't know. We'll see. It's a live stream, right? So no preparation has taken place yet. So once again, 32 gauge file. So what does it mean, 32 gauge? Well, it's 32 1/1000ths of an inch. Okay, so it's in inches. So technically, we, I guess, shouldn't be calling it a 32 gauge file. But we do call them like that. Well, I don't think I need to file this any lower. Let me do it your way. Okay, let me adjust. Huh. I do need to file it lower. Am I making the... Hold on. Yeah, I do need to file it lower. Okay. Where's my winder? I just had it here. Okay. Oh, here it is. Huh. Usually, I think I get it right. You know, when I'm just eyeballing it. Let's have a look. So this is 7/100ths of a millimeter, right? If I'm seeing this correctly. And we can go just a little bit lower. I think this would still play okay, obviously. Oh, wrong string slot almost. Okay, let's have a look. So if it's 5/100ths of a millimeter with a D string, I'm generally happy. And I can still do a small adjustment at the end. Like I said, we are not touching the A string. Now what about the E string? Hey guys, familiar faces. Aficionado and Jeffrey Boyle are here. But I can use the Hasco step gauge to take a measurement. This is it. Fantastic tool. So I don't do this for the final filing, but so I measure the fret height. So it's a little more than 0.9 millimeters, but it's less than 1.0. So let's see what we got here. Uh-oh. This is too low. You see, this is why I don't like to see guitars without strings on when people drop them off, bring them. So now that's too low. I will deal with this at some future time. Now, yeah, sometimes, oddly enough, if the string is slightly too low, you can still play it and you don't get buzzing. It depends on the saddle height and neck relief and how hard you play. So we'll see once we put the strings on. We'll see. And you know, I don't do the super glue and baking soda filling. All right. Okay, let's examine this saddle situation. Because now is the time to decide what to do about the saddle. First, we remove the strings completely. Now, when I say completely, so it's got 3 strings left. I'm not sure if I should keep them on like this with a capo. I can always remove them later. It's like a lumberjack guitar. Ah, God damn it. You know, with missing fingers, there's only got 3 strings left. All right, let's pull these out. Oh, I forgot to show you a close-up. Here it is. So it's a broken saddle. We have a transducer, a thick one. I'm well aware of the fact that I have a watch here. I don't want to damage the sound hole, but I'm being careful. And lazy. Lazy, right? I don't want to take it off, but I'm being careful. And I see there are some shims at the bottom. So let's pull them out. This is tape, I think. And there's another shim. Okay, that's typical. I think this is from the factory. So now we are going to keep this transducer. I'm going to replace it. I don't like these, but you know, whatever, it's here. And now we need to decide what kind of saddle to put. I have here some saddles, blank ones. So this one fits, kind of. This one is too thick. Is this the same exact kind? No, it's not. Similar. This one is too loose, right? This one is a bone saddle, but also too loose. And this one is too thick. Or maybe not. Look at that. And that's a bone saddle. Now let's see what it says on the work order. Let's see if I discussed anything with a customer about the saddle material. I did not. Saddle fabrication. So when you use a prefabricated saddle, it's going to be oversized, right? So it's not fully prefabricated. Let me put this away. Yeah?
We're ready to pack up. I want to turn off the equipment.
Yeah, so I'm actually not music makers. Here, I can help you. Yeah. Sometimes people think I work for the studio. What was I saying? Yeah, so prefabricated is kind of almost like a misnomer. What can I do with these strings? Okay, I'll put 3 strings on. We can't really get the right soundboard deflection and neck relief, but it's just going to give me an idea if this is doable or not. Okay. Too low. I don't even want to tune it to pitch because it's gonna break the strings. So this is way too low. So yeah, I think that's why I put saddle fabrication, as in full fabrication of the saddle. Although this one is taller, I didn't think to check. Well, I gotta check now. So the guitar, I'm sure, has a slightly overset neck angle. Slightly. It's quite overset. So this is the gap we have. Okay. Yeah, so the saddle is going to be tall. So that's not going to be a big problem on this bridge design because of the distance. I'll show you. So tall saddles result in a severe break angle across the saddle and then more push in this direction, and sometimes it can break off this part of the bridge. But here, because of this distance, it's, you know, quite a distance, I think. It's not going to affect the break angle as much as if the pin was really close to the saddle. And I'm thinking maybe kind of like that's the right height for the saddle. I'm not sure. Let's take the strings off. So yeah, I'm glad I saved these 3 old strings, because at least it gives me an idea. All right, so we know that we can't use this one. As you can see, this one is quite taller. Let's see if it fits. As you can see, I mean, it's hard to tell if it's going to fit. No, it's too slim. All right, so I'm gonna need to make a saddle from scratch. And I know that I don't have a good blank because I just ordered some for another project. But I'm looking just in case. Nah, nothing here. Okay, so let me show you the problem. The problem is this. This should be the bone blank that I could be using, but I can't use it. And the reason is this. Okay, so I opened it already. Okay. And as you can see, it's not straight. Okay, so I ordered 3 of them, and I'm afraid this project is just going to have to wait until they come in. I'm going to need one for this other project, Martin guitar. and you need one for this one. Now I do have these also, all parts, but these are different. As you can see, it says wide bone saddle, and these are wide. So more work to size them down. And for more work, I need to charge more money. And this is already a project that we are kind of undercharging a little bit. Oh, look at that. Well, I just found this bone blank. Okay, so this one is a bit thicker than we need. And it's a bit longer than we need it to be. Now, is it the right height? So it's about this height. I guess a bit less. So how do we determine the height? Well, it was stupid because I just had a saddle there and I could have taken measurements. Now those would have been just approximations because with only 3 strings on, we don't get the right soundboard deflection and neck relief, but at least it will get me in the ballpark. So I guess I need to put it back. Is it this one? No, it wasn't this one. See, I'm not thinking straight. This is the one. Okay, so let me show you. And I'll show you how we're going to do this. So this one is taller, but it doesn't fit because it's a bit longer as well, right? And I don't want to trim it just to take a measurement because it's also a little bit too slim. We could put a shim underneath this saddle. It would have to be a really tall shim, and I mean just to take the measurement. And you can see that with a really tall shim, it wouldn't really hold up. So we need to, bury it inside the saddle slot, put the strings back on, and take some measurements, which, like I said, are only going to be approximations, just to give me an idea. And I'm going to be taking the measurements in inches, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so this is in decimal inches. So you see how the increments are really nice. It goes from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, etc. 1/1000th of an inch. Now, if I use the metric one, which is this one, on this side, here is decimal inches. These aren't round numbers. And people make mistakes. So it's more likely to make a mistake if you think in terms of these numbers than if you think in terms of these numbers. And I really don't care if they're inches or metric. I prefer metric just in general. But in this case, this works better because it's simpler. And by the way, this is a really good and nice and solid string action gauge. It's a StewMac, okay? Non-sponsored comment. It's really good. So let's put the thing here and put a little tension on these strings. And I'm trying not to break the strings. It really doesn't matter if they're tuned to pitch. I just don't want to open a new pack of strings just to take a measurement. So although this is not the right string tension, I am going to measure our neck relief against this string tension and adjust it if needed, just to get a more accurate measurement. I'm looking for my feeler gauges, which I was using earlier today. Oh, I hate when this happens. It's a bit of a mess here because I got too much work. Oh, this will be a good project. A Fender Tele. I got some parts here for a customer that you all know, kind of. Well, I mean, nobody famous. You know his guitars. I've worked on his guitars before. All right, let's have a look. So on the 8th fret, normally 6 1/1000ths of an inch relief, 5, 4, not really, 3 passing. What about on the treble side? 3 not passing. Well, let me just release it just a little bit. This one or this one? Yeah. Where are you? Oh, it must be a 5mm. Yeah. Okay, release. Let's take another measurement. It's going through. 3, 4 1/1000ths isn't. Just a little more relief. Okay. And now the truss rod is practically loose, just with the 3 strings on, right? 4 1/1000ths, 5, 6. Oh, look at that. Now it's, no, 6. Excellent. All right. So now we don't have the right soundboard deflection, but I can still take a measurement. And I don't have the E string on, so I'll take a measurement of the B. So 50 1/1000ths of an inch, okay? String height. So we need to raise it to just a little bit above 80, because the E string is going to be 80, so this is going to be above 80. So we're going to, from 50 to 80, I'll show you how easy it is to calculate this. I mean, I already know the number, it's 60. But let me show you how you can do this calculation really quickly. All right. This is a how-to video, right? So our height is at 50. So from 50 to 60 is 10, right? But we double everything. Why are we doubling everything? Well, because if you raise it by 10 here, in order to raise it by 10 here, this is double distance, right? You got to raise it by 20 here. So let's go back to this now. So from 50 to 80, you go 20, 40, 60. 2, 4, 6, right? Now that's an approximation. I'm going to say that we need to raise it by more than 60. I'm going to count on 80 being, you know, how much we need to raise it for. Raise it by. So now I'm going to take a measurement of the A string height. And again, this is because we don't have the E string. And this height is, actually, it's a little bit below 50. It's hard to tell. So whatever, I'll call it 50 because it's just an approximation, right? Like I said. And from 50, so we need to raise it by 100 at least, right? And here, we're going to go from 50, and we're going to count 50, 20, right? That's raise it by 20, raise it by 40, raise it by 60, 80, raise it by 100, right? So that's how much we need to raise it at least. I'm going to say raise it by 110. So what did we say? By 80 on the treble side, by 110 on the bass side. So that we get a saddle initially that's slightly higher, maybe. And then we can fine tune it, we can lower it. So now I'm going to remove this saddle and measure it against the other saddle. And I have a trick for that as well. So don't go anywhere. Where is my thing? Okay. Okay, let's remove this thing again. And this time I can just remove the strings altogether, I guess. But whatever. So we said we need to raise the treble side by 80 and the bass side by 110. And now comes the trick. Are you ready? I know you're waiting in restless anticipation because this is going to be good. Well, it's going to be a little bit of a time saver for you if you ever do this kind of work, and maybe if you never thought of this, okay? But it's really not a secret. I just think that, let me put it this way. Machinists know this, okay? Because they work with calipers all the time. But I'm not sure about luthiers and guitar techs. So where are my saddles? Okay, so we do have this blank. Okay, and this is the caliper. First, let's turn it on. We are in inches in fractions, right? So this now works with fractions. We don't want that. We want to change the mode. Now we are in metric measurements, millimeters, right? And now it says inches, decimal inches. Okay, so we need to raise this side by 80 and this side here by 110. So what we do is we take a measurement of this, and now, you know, a regular person might look at this and then take a measurement of this and do some calculation. But all you need to do is push the 0, and now you take a measurement of this, and we need to raise it by 80. And here it will allow us to raise it by 166. You see that? Okay. So now we take a measurement of the saddle on the base side, and once again we just zero it, and we see that it will have enough material to raise it by 110 because it's at 142, right? Ignore that last zero. It's 142 1/1000ths of an inch, right? That, you know, that's the difference in height. So that was the quick tip, okay? So you have that zero button that says zero. That's how you can use it as well. So this is good news. We don't need to wait for the saddle material to arrive. I can work with this. And I'm happy to see that this is a really tight fit. Okay. So it's a really tight fit. Look, I can kind of almost push it inside, but not. So it seems like this side is a bit thicker. And you know, you can tell if you look closely. It's a bit thicker, in fact, right? So let me try this side here. Yeah, it kind of doesn't really fit, okay? Now, with saddles you make for these pickup systems, you don't want it to be completely very snug because you want just a little bit of slack so that the strings push the saddle against the under saddle pickup, right? Because if you make it too snug, then it might not. Okay, so how are we going to do this? It's a little bit oversized. So first we need to trim it. By how much? By just a little bit. We can take a measurement. And I don't even care if I'm in metric or whatever. I'm just going to do this. Take a measurement. And the numbers don't mean anything now. Lock it, okay? And double check. It's perfect, right? Because like I said, we want it to be slightly loose. And now we can scribe it like this. Okay. It's hard to see. There is a line there, and if I use this mechanical pencil, I can kind of feel that it goes inside. I'm going to trim it a little shy of this line, obviously, and then do some fine tuning. And I can do the same thing here on the other side. Let's do this. And here's the thing, I have a disc sander in the other shop, which is almost 10 miles from here in my house, in my basement, a fabrication shop. So I don't have a disc sander here. So I could take this home and quickly do it on the disc sander. but it's just a little bit. So maybe I do it here using a sanding block. Oh, I'm going to show you what I'm doing, right? Okay, so I have the little repair vise, StewMac product. This is really great, by the way. And I place it here. So if I were to do this on a disc sander, I could just go like this against the disc, right? Like the disc is here, boom. Okay, but by hand, I can just do this, just position it, and now take a sanding block and just sand it off. Right? I could do that. I just want to get it a little closer. It's good to have more than one way. Alvarez, yes, it's an Alvarez. He says, hey Jeffrey, so you guys know each other from this live stream. So yeah, I don't know if you were logged on, but I was logged on to the Unquendor Guitars live stream today, earlier. I mean, I really like this guy. I just like the way he comes across. Check him out. So he's got a shop, not a repair shop. I mentioned him before. He's got a yeah, he's a builder. And he built this great guitar that he calls the Phoenix. It's inspired by the Gibson Firebird, but it beats the Firebird all day long. It looks much better, in my opinion. Okay. So I'll jig this up a little bit like this, just a flat surface. So this is a piece of MDF with some sandpaper. It's peeling off here, doesn't matter. And what I'll do is this. Oh, you're here. That's the case. Excellent. How's the guitar?
What?
How's the guitar? You playing?
Fabulous. I mean, I'm learning 9 new songs right now, and I'm
Great.
to perform singing-wise.
Uh-huh.
As soon as that's done, then I'm going to be able to.
Yeah, you're going to use it on stage, right?
What?
You're going to use it on stage?
Well, for this time I won't be. I'll
Oh, okay.
singing, because, I'm starting from the beginning, but
Okay. Excellent. I gave her a guitar for free, giveaway. It was a Gretsch Streamliner with a Bixby. Aye. Yeah. So she's a great customer here, by the way. So, yeah. All right. What am I doing? I am going to show you this, right? So I lowered it a little bit because this is here. And now I want to keep it at a 90-degree angle so I can just use my best judgment. Or maybe I can put some shims here if I really want to. But because I'm lazy, I'll do it this way. So I'll show you from this side a little bit, and then I'll change the angle, and I'll show you from the other side. Okay, I think you get the idea, right? And now, why don't I do this? I'll move this a little bit this way and put this camera here and raise it up so you can see exactly what I see. Oops. which means I won't be able to see anything. Well, I can kind of just look at the screen. Yeah, so I gave her a guitar, but I didn't give her a case with it. So she borrowed the case, and now she brought it back. Okay. That it? Yeah. Okay, this is a much better angle. Now this is not the right grit, but again, I don't feel like changing it right now. Now this will be rounded off as well. So if I'm rounding it off now a little bit, it's all good. And I'm coming close to that black line. Maybe I reposition the workpiece a little bit. Yeah, and I gave away, so she got a streamliner. I gave away the Angelical guitar. There's a video on the main channel about that. I gave away a Martin guitar. Yeah, and I gave away ESP or LTD? LTD, I think. Yeah. LTD. I always get these, the ESP and LTDs confused. The ESP is the expensive one, right? So the cheaper one I gave away. That's the only one I didn't buy for the giveaways. A customer gave it to me. And he said that he wanted me to give it to some kids. He said maybe a good home, and I gave it away to my students. They're twins, so 2 kids got it at the same time. Yeah, so I'm getting close to that black line. Let me check the other side. Same thing. And I still won't be able to fit it because it's not rounded, right? So why am I doing this by hand if I have a disc sander in my basement? Well, I am also educating, right? So this is one way to do it. So here we're doing it this way this time. Okay. And this is just bone dust. I already did that yesterday with another material. Okay, so now we can round it off. again, it's too thick, remember? So how are we going to deal with that? Okay. So I think this is the thick part. Yeah, it feels thicker on this side. Well, I'll just do it this way. I have at home that Robo sander from StewMac that you can mount on the drill press. I have it for my milling machine. So I could do it that way. But here, once again, we're doing it this way. Okay, I don't want to overdo it. Okay. Now here I first cut a 45-degree angle, kind of, on both sides. And I can round it off. Okay. And now let's check. Too tight, which is good, right? It's getting there. I do need to vacuum this, and I think I'm going to need to pull my big boy vacuum cleaner. But let's try with this. Okay. Okay. At some point, I'm going to need to decide which one is the bottom, which one is the top, which one is the bass side, and which one is the treble side. So now I'm leaning towards this being here the treble side bottom, and this being the bass side bottom. So that's how I'm going to try to fit it right now. And it's still too tight in all directions, especially the length. So obviously if it's too long, it can't possibly fit. So at some point I want to mark it off, and I'll do it right now. I'll just put a little X here with a pencil. That's the bottom of the bass side. I'm sure there's a better way to do it. Still too tight and still too long. Okay. Still too tight and still too long. So this is kind of like filing the nut. You gotta slow down as you get out of the safety zone and closer to the finished product target measurement. I think it's still too long. Okay. And we need to clean this. So it's a time-consuming process. Okay. Where's my X? Oh, here it is. Still a little bit too long and too tight as well, right? So even if I try to put it in here like this, it's too tight. So I feel it's too tight on the base side. More so than on the treble side. So let me adjust this first. Much better. It is still too tight. Now on the treble side as well. So if this was a purely acoustic guitar, I would keep this tighter, but because we have the transducer, I need to make it a bit looser. I already explained that before. So I think the thickness is probably almost good. It's just still too long. Okay, I got my X here. Looks like it's still too long. So let's work on that and leave the thickness alone for now. Where's my X here? I need to, okay. So now the issue is that the saddle slot is tighter at the bottom. So how do we deal with this situation now? I guess the best way to deal with it is to make the saddle a little bit narrower at the bottom, right? So I'm holding it like this, a bit outside of the sanding block. Both sides. Okay. This is better. And yeah, I think it's actually perfect, maybe. I think so. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So now, what comes next? Okay, kids, who knows? We need to take a measurement. That's the hint of what? Of the radius of what? Radius. The fingerboard radius. All right, let me put this away. I think it might be a 14-inch radius. Let's check. Okay. So this is it. These are radius gauges. Is this a 14-inch radius? Okay, yeah. So we need this, and we need a feeler gauge, which is where I put it. Oh, it's right there. Okay, so that's the 14-inch radius. Let's measure the fingerboard first, and then we'll measure the frets. So I place it against the fingerboard. So the fingerboard is a 14-inch radius. And now let's try one of the frets. Yeah, 14-inch radius. So this is how I do it. I just put it against the fret. So usually when the strings are on, the strings can hold it down. Now I gotta hold it. And as you can see, I cannot put the feeler gauge through. Here it kind of fits a little bit, but not in the middle. Not here. Let's try this fret. The frets might be a little bit uneven, right? So they might not all be the same. See here, it's a bit tighter. Yeah, so definitely we have a 14-inch radius fingerboard. And I really don't think that this is a compound radius fingerboard. So I'm going to make it a 14-inch radius saddle to match the radius. And that's the thing with prefabricated saddles. You need to check the radius because you might need to shave it off on top. How are we going to make it a 14-inch radius? Well, with this. This is a 14-inch radius sanding beam. So I'm going to, well, first I'll cut it down, and then I will sand it with this. Now, we need the height to be, what did we say? 81 thousandths taller on the treble side and 110 on the bass side. Taller than our test piece, not the original saddle, right? The test saddle, which was this one. So one thing we can do is this. So see, I'm going to have to retitle this live stream because I titled it The Assessment. This is clearly more than that. But I'll change the title later. So this is it. We have this marked X, means the bass side in this case. It's a snug fit, okay? Now, we want to make sure, we want to double check everything, right? So, so let's check the height here from, well, let's first check the height. I'll show you why. From the soundboard to the bridge, okay? And let's zero it, okay? And now let's check the difference. It's basically the same. Okay, so now we can check the height from the soundboard to the top of the saddle right here, where the E string would be, and we make it 0. And now we do the same thing here, except that here we run out of space. Okay, so we can't do it. So let's try the height here from here to here, right where the E string would be. Now we make this 0. And here, where this E string would be, it's basically 0, right? So we know that it's seated all the way down. Now I'd like to do this. Okay. And again, I'm doing this just to double check. I really want to see that this height is about the same as this height, okay? So I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, I'm happy with this. Now, if we think of the height of the, is this the one that I was using? Yeah. So that's the treble side. We place it against this one. We can trace 2 points, like one here, one here. Those are just reference points. They're not really going to be used for much of anything. But I'm using them as reference points in terms of when I do mark it off, I do want to see that this is away from here about 80, 1007 inch, and here about 110, right? Now this is not an exact position of this line, because, you know, I wasn't using a really precision tool to mark this. But now I do want to somehow mark it. So on the E string, we do this, and we said we go to 80. We can go a little bit beyond 80. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little confused here, to be honest with you. Okay. Yeah, that's it. So this is where we're at, okay? Now, this is the guitar, so why don't I place something here? Honestly, I'd be doing this away from the guitar, but we're doing a live stream, so here we're kind of improvising. So this is where I want this line to be, roughly. And now I kind of find it, because it's a little groove. Is this it? Yeah, about. And then that was the treble side. Now on the bass side, we measure where the E string would be, which is about here. 0. And now we go to 100. So 100 1,000ths, right? This is 120. No, I'm sorry, 110, right? So this is a little bit more than 110. 110 would be, I missed it, whatever. So we can do a little more and check where that is. It's close to the edge. I guess I could even do this. And now let's hope that with a 14-inch radius, we manage to have enough saddle height all the way across the saddle. Okay, so as you can see, I'm using another saddle of more or less the same thickness to do this. And I can mark it off a little higher, right? It's better to do that than to mark it a little bit lower. Look at that. So that's our radius, 14-inch radius. Okay. Now, we want to measure twice, right? Before we do any cutting. So here, this height needs to be 80 or a little bit more. It is more. I can see that it's more. But we want to kind of compare it to this 80 here. Yeah, it is more than 80. It's not in focus, sorry. And here we want it to be, so let's extend this out a little bit. Comparable to the 110. Kind of, okay. The thing is that we've run out of space here, so it is what it is. We're going to have to use this. So this will be more or less our saddle height. It's quite high. And now let's talk about the break angle of the strings. So we can't really show it here, but I can show it here where the D and G strings are. So this will get filed down a little bit. So it'll come down just a little bit, but it'll work, okay? It's a bit severe, but yeah. So there's going to be some sideways force pushing it like this. So I think this bridge is strong enough to withstand that. Now let's file the radius. Again, I'm going to jig up a little sanding station here. Using this and this fantastic tool, the StewMac vise. And my radius sanding beam is there, right? In fact, if I push the guitar away, I'll be able to show you from two different angles. From the overhead angle and as well as the close-up. So maybe we should do that. Okay, yeah, that looks good. All right, so this is just the vise. We clamp it, we mount it. Make sure it's tight. Now, I could also use my big vise. In fact, I do want to use it. I have another vise here. Oh, look at that. We got 7 people watching currently. Yeah, I do want to do this. Because the big vise is going to hold the little vise. Okay, because it's nice and heavy, right? Obviously. All right. See, I need to remember to put links to all these tools in the description. So if you feel like buying any of these tools, just wait until I update the description, because those will be affiliate links so that I can make a little money from your purchases at no extra cost to you. You know what? I don't want to have the guitar here while I do this. The case is right here. Okay, this is better. The 14-inch sanding beam is here. By the way, this is the Skyscraper sanding beam. It's longer than the StewMac sanding beam by 2 inches. It's a 20-inch beam. The StewMac is an 18-inch beam. So if you feel that works better for you, you know, then Skyscraper is the way to go. And I'll put a link. Again, you know, so I can make a little extra money. Okay, the camera's here. Cool. Nothing to it, right? We place it like this. It's a little narrower than the thing. And what we want to do is we want to take a pencil and just mark it off. Maybe a couple of lines. That's it. So now we see exactly how much material we're removing from where. And we want to remove more material on the treble side. So I'm going to start by placing some tape here. How about that? Yeah, just some tape, which I have here. So this tape is going to prevent this side of the sanding beam from sanding on the base side of the bone blank. Okay, makes sense, right? And this way I will hit the treble side first and just go like this. So you see, it works really nice with a long sanding beam, because I can hold it level to the table, right? And here, if we look at the top, we can see that we're removing the pencil mark, right? So that's all I've sanded off so far. This is a bit too fine, but you know, I'm lazy. I hate when this happens. So I'll just put more tape. I'll use, how about the green tape maybe? Or no, the yellow tape. Okay. Okay. The yellow tape. Show you. Okay, that's fine. Right, it's about here it ends. Yeah, I'll remember that. And I can use a block here maybe. How about that? You can get a paper cut from the sandpaper from the side. So this is working well so far. So, well, one trick, right? I'm holding this at an angle, a little bit like this. So that opens up a little gap between this edge and the block, which means I am overlapping a little bit with the edge of the sanding beam, right? So that's intentional how I'm holding it like this. So now, what I want to do is check my progress. And I can see that this is now actually already closer to my line than on the base side, which is fine. Okay. We will adjust the bottom of the saddle at a later time anyway. So this means that we can now remove the tape. And now we can continue. Now, like I said, this is a little bit narrower than the saddle, so we'll deal with that as well. So here, maybe I want to put this more flush against this thing. And I see a little bit of a saddle sticking out. So I'm going to have to move it sideways a little bit as well. So just to show you what I'm doing on this side. So I'm going from being completely at a 90-degree angle to pushing it like this and back. And now I want to check my progress. And, you know, it's all right. Okay, so far. Maybe a little bit more on the base side. Okay. So you can see that I've removed this much from the treble side and this much from the bass side. So I need to focus a little bit on the bass side now. And sorry, it's the dust, right? Yeah, no problem. I'll just push down a little bit more on this side for now. Check the line. I'm kind of twisting it this way to hit the base side a little more. And here, I'm using my 2 fingers here as a guide. I'm not concerned that I'm doing this because we're going to round off the top anyway. Okay. Oh, what am I doing? Wrong vise. Check the progress. Yeah, I can still see the black line. Now remember, the black line is higher than we need it to be. So that's all good. And now we have just a small area left that's untouched. It's about this long. I would say about 8 millimeters long. That's it. Okay, so now we just finish it off. Like this. I'm moving my entire body a little bit back and forth. Just getting a nice and smooth finish. And we have a 14-inch radius. So the treble side is a little taller than we need it to be. We can see this here. You can see that, okay? But, you know, we'll be able to shave the saddle from the bottom anyway to readjust. At this point, I wanna be flexible, right? We might even flip the saddle. I don't know, right? So we want to have all the options open. So why don't we take a measurement of this? So let's go metric here now, okay? Metric. And this is from here to here. We zero it out, and now we try the other side. And it's positive, right? It's 0.10 millimeters higher. So if we zero this out, this should be negative 0.10. You see? Negative. It depends where I hit it, but you know. So this is taller on the treble side than on the bass side. So we might actually flip it. We'll see how it fits. Like I said, I want to have all the options open right now. Just be able to adjust it in any way I want to. Now it's time to clean up a little bit. Oh, where's my vacuum? This has no power. So a friend of mine gave me this. I guess it was a thoughtful gift, but it doesn't really work. Why don't we do this? I clamp it And I'll put it here for now. And I am going to deal with it later after the live stream. Now we'll put the guitar back on the workbench and do some checking and testing and measuring. So I think it's important, the further along you are with any type of fabrication project, you need to start slowing down, right? Because if you mess up at the end, well, it's, you know, worse than messing up at the beginning. Okay, let's put the guitar back on the bench. Almost 11. This is going to be it today for me. It isn't the first guitar on the bench today, but it's really the first project that I am actually working on today. I had a few guitars on the bench today. One bass and a few guitars. So, yeah, look at that. So there's a lot to talk about here. Focus, focus. Switch, switch. Right, you can see. I flipped it, right? So this was the bass side. That's the one that I marked off with a little X. So it fits well. Now let's see if it fits well in this direction. It does. So now I want to know what height we have here and here. And once again, did I just put the caliper away? Oh, here it is. Should we go metric? Yeah. Let's zoom out. So how about here? We measure it here. And 0. And now we measure it here. Positive 16. Now if we flip it, like I said, measure twice, cut once. I kind of like the way it fits better like this. Here, 0. Positive 7. I think I'm going to keep it like this because although it is technically higher here, taller, I just like the way it fits, the way it feels. Not surprisingly, it was adjusted that way. Now, that's possibly because I think one side might be, I think this side looks a little wider to me than this side, or I might be mistaken, I don't know. But it seems to fit better this way. And that's how I want to keep it. Okay, so what can we do next? Well, we'll just copy a compensation from a saddle. Honestly, I just kind of eyeball this thing like that. That's for the high E. The B goes like this. And then from here to here, we can take a feeler gauge and draw a line. So, you know, we can shape it kind of like this saddle that has like a hard edge like this here. But I kind of like this shape, you know, where it's nice and smooth. So I'm going to go with this kind of design shape. Right? This looks better to me, to my eye. That's how I usually do it. And we want to remove some material from here as well. Good. All right. So we can file this down to. Oh, you know what? I was just kind of copying, but I do want to make sure that I project the actual strings onto this. And yeah, as you can see, I was a bit off. So I need to readjust. So this one is going to be kind of here. So it's going to be kind of here. That's fine. All right, so it looks better. I know it looks kind of messy, but we can carve it nicely, which we are going to do next time. So this saddle is going to be, look at that, now I got an audience. Okay, it's going to be taller than our desired height, and that's intentional. Because once we carve the shape, to make it look nice and with the proper compensation, then we treat it as a prefabricated saddle that is just taller than we need it to be. We'll put the strings on, we'll measure the height, and we'll make a quick calculation how much to shave it off the bottom. We are going to use this tool to shave the bottom. Okay, so this is basically a vise on wheels. We call it the race car, okay? The Formula One race car. So we put the saddle inside, we adjust the height, how much it sticks out, and we sand it off. So not on the guitar, right? I have a piece of glass with sandpaper on it, and it makes it nice and straight. So I'm not going to do this tonight because it's late and I got somewhere I gotta be. Somewhere outside of here. Right. And do some important things. I did a lot of important things today already. I finished my paperwork for my taxes. Okay, so that's not the important thing that I'll be doing tonight, because that's done. Okay, Dr. Aficionado says, would it be a good idea to start rounding off both sides before getting too close to the line, and then just I think you were referring to the sanding I was doing before, right? I didn't read your comment. Well, I guess there's more than one way to do something, to do it. So, yeah, you could do it that way. You put a scribe line on top and you monitor that. I guess if you start rounding it off, well, no, I mean, you don't want to round it off too much, right? Because of the compensation that we are going to carve. So the B string needs to be back, the G string all the way in front, and the high E string all the way in front. And the saddle is going to be at an angle anyway, right? So the G string is going to be a little bit behind the high E. So no, I would say probably not. Yeah, I think. So this is how I've done it before. Oh, you guys are leaving? Okay. Yeah, cool. Okay, good night. Bye-bye. So we are going to wrap it up for the night. Any questions? Just comments while I put this guitar away. So what I am going to do is actually I'm going to put the broken saddle back in place. That's the broken one. And I'll put the 3 remaining strings back on. Just want to keep them there for as long as I might need them. Like I said before, for those of you who missed the beginning, oh, look at that, wrong holes. Yeah, it's confusing. So this guitar is like a lumberjack with missing fingers. It's got missing strings. Well, it'd be kind of cool to string it up this way, actually. We don't call this sharp guitar quackery for nothing. So this I'm going to put away. And now I can remove the capo. This is, you know, important. And I can kind of put some tension on these strings. I'm not going to try to tune it. Any questions? I think there's a question. Okay, Aficionado says, I was talking about when you drew the line to try to sand it to the correct width. Sand, a typo, right? To the correct width. Oh, I see. Yes, obviously, but the saddle blank was, you know, very close to the edge of the mini vise, which is now outside. I gotta dust it off. So if you make it stick out, in order to do that, then, you know, it's not a firm grip on the workpiece, I think. So, but, you know, you could do it that way, I guess. Okay. Any more questions? Or length? Yeah, length. As I mentioned, so that maybe people who are following your advice would want to think about the fact that you want around both ends off, then test fit. Well, I see where you're coming from, for sure. Yeah, no. I mean, that line was not in the exact place, right? So I knew that that would make the saddle too wide. I just, normally what I would do is I would just take it to the disc sander and just zip, you know, and then I would do all the rounding off by hand the way I did it here. So, yeah, that's how I would normally do it. But normally, before my live streaming days, I would just take the measurements, take it home, zip, do it quickly, bring it in the morning, and then continue the work. And I would, you know, obviously continue working on another guitar in the meantime. But now that I'm live streaming, it kind of makes sense to include everything, right? And the reason why I don't have these tools here is because the space that you see here is the space that's available to me. Plus the storage, which is what I call the vault. It's locked, obviously, where the guitars are, which is the humidity controlled thing. I don't want to have a disc sander there or anything. So this is a really small space. So my fabrication shop is in my house, in my basement. And right now it's being renovated. And I think I might take quite a few days off in the month of March to finish that renovation if I can make it happen. And then rebuild my my workshop and maybe install some cameras there so I can do some live streaming from there. And that is going to be my fabrication shop slash luthier builder, kind of, whatever you want to call it. Because I used to be a builder before I started doing repairs. And I kind of want to get back into it. So, okay, my friends. Just out of curiosity, are you going to put a sim in between the bone saddle and the piezo? Sim. What's a sim? I don't know. Oh, shim. Okay. No, I'm not going to put a shim. No, I want to avoid shims when, so shims work, but if you already have a thick piezoelectric pickup, that already reduces the depth of the saddle slot, right, by the thickness of the piezoelectric pickup. So I don't want to add a shim. So some people have a shim that they put in the winter when the soundboard goes down, you know, when the guitar dries up a little bit, and they remove the shim in the summer. Some people do that. Some people have two saddles. They have a winter and a summer saddle. I think that's better, especially if you have an under saddle pickup. But I'm building the saddle from scratch, so I don't want to put a shim. I want to just build it at the right height, if that makes sense. Dr. Mike Jones is here. Cool. I thought you were in the basement of an opera house or something, like the Phantom. No. Oh, yes, friends. Check out this channel, okay? He's good. It's, again, it's a slow-paced kind of like program, live streams, but he's a builder, and he does similar things, right? So this is the repair live streaming channel, and this is the builder live streaming channel, okay? I'll give you a moment to write it down. Unquendor guitars. I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay. All right. And that's it. This concludes this live stream. So if you liked anything here, just let YouTube know, because then YouTube will recommend this to you in the future. If you like to let your friends know, that would be good, because that helps the channel grow. So the thing is that I need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 viewing hours. I already got the viewing hours are really good, right? But the subscriber count is just a little bit over 200. So I need 1,000 subscribers to fully monetize this channel, and I do need to monetize it because yeah. So tell your friends. Hey friends, go watch Guitar Quackery live. Yeah, well, they're already watching. No, other friends. You can go on the Guitar Forum and tell your friends. I agree with you, and I would not typically use a shim between a bone nut, right? Saddle and a piezo. But now you're all caps. I'm afraid to read it. Depending on the wood material that the shim is made out of, it will affect how it sounds plugged in. Oh, I see. That's the reason. Well, I guess that would require some testing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Interesting idea. So you think that the shim would be filtering something? That's all a shim can do, right? It can't add anything to the sound. It can only filter out certain overtones and frequencies. So, but I'm just thinking, you can do all that in your EQ. No? So, Rubbish Guitar Blog says, good morning, Professor. Good morning to you. Oh, my other friends, yeah. You want a brass shim? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done any experiments with that, so I don't have an opinion, to be honest with you. But I just want to make this saddle, so especially because it's a taller saddle. It's really, well, let's look at this. Okay, so here is the line. So that's the bridge height. So we're going to take this down to about this height, maybe a little bit under. Well, actually, we're going to be sanding it from the bottom, right? But, okay, you know what I mean. So now if you shim it, let's say by this much, now you've just reduced the height. The depth. So you really want to have this thing planted, especially when you have a really tall saddle, which is going to be about this height here, right? After we do the adjustments. So you don't want this to be taller than this, and it already is. So now if you put a shim, you make it even taller proportionally. So in this case, I definitely would not want to add a shim. And we have the same situation on the other side. So on the base side, this height is taller than this height here. You can see that. So this is how I marked it off. I know it's kind of messy, but I know what it means. Okay, so this is where the string is going to be. Here, this is where the string is going to be between these two lines. And then the G, same thing. We'll do this next time. Oh, the bridge pins are still here. Okay, I got some cleaning up to do. Yeah, metal is hard to work with, hence plastic bone interfaces with the wood. I don't know. I'm looking at 3D printed filaments for that kind of stuff right now, and I have some good candidates. That's interesting. At least better than the plastic. Maybe one as good or better than bone, but not the same as brass. So a lot of people think that bone is the best material. So when you say maybe as good or better than bone, but is bone the best material? I don't know. You could adjust with just a few numbers and bend out a print in 10 minutes until it's dialed in. Takes a good printer to print those kind of hard filament, however. I have no experience with 3D printers, but I'm kind of interested in them. So when they first came out, obviously they weren't that good, but now I think they're amazing, right? A lot of luthiers and repair techs use them to make jigs. So it's a useful tool. But it's just another skill to learn, and I don't really want to learn it. Okay. I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'm tired. Yeah, it becomes a preference at that point, but the hardness factor I'm talking about, there's some carbon reinforcement filaments, they get 10 GPa, bone is 15, Tusk is like 8, plastic is 4. Okay. So bone is brittle, so it's harder, but it's also brittle. So it chips off. So that's one complaint. Okay. So I am going to say goodnight, and maybe I'll see you next time, which maybe should be, what is today, Wednesday? It's still Wednesday. So maybe Thursday. Oh, Dr. Williams wants to come tomorrow. So she sent me a text, and then I sent her a text. Let's see if she texted back. No. She's flaky. But yeah, so maybe she will be here tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Okay, my friends, that's it. I'm going to have to say goodnight. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.